But let's just get started. So, welcome. I can't see who's here, so drop a hello in the chat if you feel like it. And I'll start talking again. So, I already started my drawing just a little bit, and this is the scene. This is the forest out of my backyard. And I'm kind of editing it. So let me explain what I was doing. Hey, Leslie, I saw a bit of a note when I was panicking over having to restart the live. Something about the wildfires are really bad where you are, the smoke. So let me know if you need to bow out because it's not healthy in there at all, or out there at all. Anyways, so here's what I'm doing. So I kind of edited the scene and I kind of put some pale things in and experimented. So what I decided to do is I'm actually, because I wanted sky, and if let's see, if I turn this landscape, you can see that there's just not enough sky. Wanted more sky, wanted lots of sky. So I kind of took this as inspiration and I'm keeping this foreground. So I'm kind of thinking of these trees, these trees in the foreground. And then uh, this as part of the middle ground, and this as part of the middle ground. And then the sky and some trees way in the back as the background. So I haven't actually put in my background trees. I kind of drew a little drawing. So I kind of just drew lines. I didn't even draw shapes. Well, I did draw shapes, but I kind of just made this L shape for my um, foreground. And I knew that I wanted my middle ground to come up like a wedge. And then I have that background tree that I'm thinking, the trees in the background way over there. I have that in, and then the sky, and I laid in the sky. So we're just, oh, there's a nice cool breeze. Oh, good, you're inside now. Um, so I will bring you out to my outside. Um, so that's where we are. So this is my setup. I have a little awning. If I have to put you down, I'll put you under there. Although all of a sudden the sun is behind clouds, so hopefully my phone will stay cool. But this is my setup. So I have my palette, my board, my travel watercolors, and a rag. And then I'm using this. I found this when I was cleaning the closet in my studio. It's unwieldy to take it around, but it works perfect for the backyard. I probably have to figure out something different when we go out into the park. So welcome, new people who have come. I think I lost a whole bunch of people when this overheated, but that's okay. And I can feel it getting hot again. So we're going to just go as long as we can. Hey, Martha. Good to see you. All right. So I put in pretty much everything using my biggest, what is this? My quill brush. It's a 3/0, which is one of the bigger ones. So I'm just going to continue. So I kind of just laid in some general stuff. I'm going to put the foreground in. And I can see that there's a lot of colors of green in there. So I'm going to start with like the lightest green. And I think I'm going to want it to be quite yellowy. I'm going to have to drink paint water. Yeah, that works. Maybe a little bit more quinacridone gold. So I have a couple yellows here. Quinacridone gold and my famous Hansa Yellow Medium. This one makes things glow. It's golden, but I'm going to put it all in there. A little bit more green. Yeah, that's good. And because it's the foreground, I could probably keep it a little dark. So I'm not going to water this down any more than it is. Now, this is an experiment. I'm not a landscape painter. I just play one on TV. So I'm just kind of seeing just broad shapes and I'm kind of just mushing and rolling and really concentrating in here in the foreground of the foreground. And just kind of rolling the brush. And as it uses up most of its paint down here, I'm just kind of mushing up into here. So it's kind of wouldn't call it dry brushing because this still has a lot of stuff on it, but we're getting there. Okay. I'm trying not to make it quite so regular. And while I still have some of this paint, I don't know if you can see, but the trees in the back are kind of lit up. So I think I'm going to just mush some right back here too. And my watercolor brushes are pretty good. They can really take a beating. These are Jackson. They're not expensive at all. But other than the Princeton Heritage brushes that are that you can get really easy here, they're the ones with the kind of the maroon barrel. I find that most brushes you can find around here are kind of cheap and they lose their hairs, but uh, these were just like a couple dollars. Let me see. Maybe this was like $5 through Jackson's. So, and it holds a lot of water. Okay, let's see. And I'm going to go ahead and put just a really light wash of the background, and I'm going to make it kind of cool. I'm going to pick up a cooler green and maybe go ahead and add some of this green into it so it still is in the family. And I'm watering it down. Hey, Renee. Hey, Simply Dogs. Okay, so I can see it's pretty watery. Let's squeeze some of that off. I think I want to squeeze a little more off, so I'm just going to blot it. And then I'm looking at this line right in the back. I'm just going to have it extend right off. I picked up some more paint. I blotted some more. I'm going to kind of smush it in here too. Okay, I did not want that there. Okay. And just for the sake of keeping things kind of uniform, I'm going to put some of this right in here too. Trying to get rid of some of those lines that I had in here. All right. And then I have a lighter green that's kind of this mixed with this blue. Kind of reminds me of aloe vera. Maybe I pick up some of this too. I'm going to put that in the front. Oops. Blotting. Okay, I gotta tell you, this is a lot of fun. This kind of mushing. I might be getting a little slap happy with it. Now, as your brushes get old, these are not old, so I'm not doing it to it yet, but as they get old, you could take scissors and totally trim them. So now I'm just kind of picking up whatever's left. I'm just going to kind of mush. But you could trim them to make them do all sorts of fun things. There. Okay. How's everybody doing so far? Am I moving the camera too much? Is anybody getting a little ill? All right. So this is my foreground. No, I'm sorry. This is my middle ground. This is all my foreground. So I think I want to mix a nice green, but I don't want it to be quite as glowy and not as dull. So let's see what I got here. I have one of my minerals. Whoa, that was going to be fun. This is one of my mineral colors. It's Green Apatite Genuine. Okay. And I'm using kind of a consistency that's thick. I blotted. And I'm going to try to think of the shape of the tree that I got going here. Okay, so I'm just what's nice about this color, you can kind of see it. Do you see how it's separating into a brown and a green? That's just the rock. It does that. And I think it's so cool. Okay, so I have to switch hands. Sorry. I have to go left handed now. I kind of mixed it with some of my cooler green just to kind of get in here. Ooh, what was that? Oh, wasp. Thought it was a monarch. We've been having some really nice butterfly sightings. How about you guys? Whoops, sorry. This is so not the way I usually paint the birds, is it? It's a whole new Susanna. Okay. Let's bring some of that into the foreground too, just for fun. I'm going to make it nice and thick. When I teach, I use a dairy. Well, I'm not terribly fond of the dairy analogy, but it works. Um, so I would say this is somewhere between milk and cream. If you are used to the dairy analogy, I usually go with like really juicy and almost dry, and the range in between. All right. So just kind of looking at what's going on here in this middle area. Feel free to stop me and ask me questions. I know I want some up in here. Now, there are no grasses, but I'm going to put some in because this is my painting and this is what you can do. Unless you are like hired by somebody who's saying to you, I want you to paint me this specific thing, you can make it do whatever you want. And while I've still got stuff, all right. Now let's see. I still want to stay loose, but I'm going to stay with a smaller brush. And I'm going to mix up some of this blue again. I want to tackle the sky. So it's kind of hard to tell with this sky. But do you see how it is paler here, gets darker, 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 darker? And I mean, I'm not even accounting for the clouds. There's like streaky little clouds. But do you see how it's like a darker blue, almost a warmer blue up here, and it's cooler down here? So we can use that to kind of create the, and somebody told me it's because we're we're in like a dome. So we can kind of do that by just adding some here. I rinsed off my brush and I blotted it to kind of help soften this line, and this line, and this line. I'm going to put a little bit more in here, and I'm going to leave it. This I'm not softening. In fact, I need a little bit more. I need it to be darker. Maybe I put it a little darker up in here too. So I'm taking, just cleaned my brush off, dried it off, and I'm just going to run it right along the edge to help encourage it to kind of move down. And I'm okay if it creates kind of a tide line because I got some streaky clouds. There's some really weird stuff going on right there. Let's just bring it down. It's always best to leave it when you do that with your hands. Okay, that works. And then just put a little shape in there, one in here that connects. Maybe one in here, and one back here. So I'm just trying to create little random blue spots. All right, let's get some of that So now I pick up my cerulean, which is a warm green, and the one I have on this palette. Just mixing it into the blue I already had. And let's see. Let's go in. I don't want to ruin the cloud that I already kind of got in there. I blotted my brush again just so I can move this around while it was still wet. This only works if it's still wet. And let's take some of this and put it in here. Okay. And then I'm going to pick up even more. I'm going to add a little bit of my green to it. Make it real light. It's almost aqua. I'm just going to put it all in here. Now, the sky isn't coming down this far, but that's okay because I'm going to go over it. But that way there's some continuity. So how's camp going for everybody? Okay, let's just let that sit for a minute. Okay, that's good enough for now. I'm going to let it dry for a little bit. Hey, Ethel. Good to see you. Um, so I would say we are now somewhere in the early middle, and it looks like an unholy mess, but that's okay. I'm waiting for this to kind of dry off a bit because now I'm going to go over it with some darker paint and smaller brushes and see if I could kind of bring it together. So Leslie says, fun times staying with her project. Yes, and I love your project. Of course, it's birds, but I'm also tickled that you're just mapping and illustrating the birds on your property. And I just think that's so awesome because it's your story, it's their story, it's nature's story. Don't get me started. I'm going to get all like verklempt. Okay, let's feel it. So you can always tell watercolor is wet if it feels cold, like this feels cold. So this side I'm going to stay away from right now. This side feels warm, so I'm reasonably sure it's dry. Even this stuff is dry. But right up in here, it feels really cold. So I know that even though if I touch it with my hand, it feels dry, like dry to the touch, because the temperature is cold means that in the fibers of the paper, it's still very wet. If I were to put anything on this, it's going to have some unpredictable spreading results that I don't want. At this point, before I didn't care about controlling the watercolor. I was just rolling things on and slapping it around. But now we're getting serious. We mean business. Okay, I need a nice dark brown. And I can do this several different ways. Let me see what I'm looking at with the trees. I think I'm going to go with my black and burnt sienna mixture. So I have something on my palette called Chromatic Black. I make it myself. Oops, the whole thing. And basically what it is, it's phthalo green blue shade and anthracenoid red mixed roughly half and half. Of course, you end up having to go in and add more red because you find the greens too much and blah, blah, blah. So that is one way I make brown. The other way is I mix ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. But that makes a more gray brown, and I don't want a gray brown. So I'm going to mix chromatic black with burnt sienna instead. Okay, because burnt sienna is kind of a heavier pigment, it's going to thicken this up. Okay, and you can tell if you pull it on the palette. That's why you always mix on a white palette. See, now I went too light, but I do like that shade of brown. So I'm going to keep it because I can always darken it up. It's really impossible to lighten it up. Okay, so I'm going to pick some up. I'm using a small spotter. And I'm just going to start to put in some of the tree branches. So let me think for a minute. This is my middle. That's my background. Maybe I start with the back and come forward. So I'm kind of on the tip here. Let's see. And I'm taking my inspiration from what I see, but I'm not totally following everything. Probably want that a little thicker. Okay, that's good. And watercolor always dries lighter, so that's going to be fun. Oh yes, and I have a nice little thin tree. So let's see, I missed the trunk stops. And then it ends up behind this tree. Hmm, let's put one more in. Okay, that's good enough. Now, theoretically, I want to get lighter as I come forward. So I'm going to add more of my burnt sienna to this brown, which will help lighten it up. Leslie called me a bird nerd. I accept that name. A little bit more of the black. I didn't want it quite that warm yet and quite that light. So I'm getting, it's cooler in the back and darker, and I'm trying to get lighter as I go forward. So actually, you know what? I do want this lighter. Let's make it really, really warm because I can always darken it later. And the trees in the background aren't going to have as much detail, of course, but the trunks and branches as we get forward Could, potentially. Alright, so this is my middle ground tree. I'm gonna say I have a trunk here, so it's gonna be a little thicker. Maybe thinner as we get towards the top. And so you wanna put skips in your trunks because, trees are in the round. I probably did a little too much there, but that's okay. And this fades into the bushes here. And I'm kind of following some of this leaf stuff that I got going on here, so might as well take advantage of the stuff that I did. Okay, and I want to put another one. So I'm loading this up. I kind of like, let's see. So I'm looking at that tree. I'm going to say you're in my middle ground. So I'm seeing kind of right here. This kind of skips and this skips. And then it comes down this way. See, I put a little leaf edge in there. This is the thing I've noticed about working outside. It is drying off a lot faster. And working without my uh, water brushes. Water brushes, nothing dries out. But this is kind of exciting. Things are drying out now. Okay. Then I'm thinking this tree gets bigger. Again, let's put some leaf texture in there. And let's come down here. And we end with some leaf texture too. And I want the trunk to be a little wider. So it's like when we do birds and we're taking the tip of our brush and we're kind of cutting into the lighter feathers with a dark. Could totally do that with this. All right. So I'm still mixing, still using that kind of lighter because I'm still in the middle ground. And I'm trying to think. I think I want to go to a smaller brush. So that was my number 3 spotter. Let's go ahead and be. Ooh, that could have been a. That brush just went flying. Okay, let's go with a 0. Tiny, tiny brush. And same mix. Except it's a little bit more watery. So maybe I don't want it so watery. Let's mix it up again. Sometimes you can adjust the consistency of your paint also by introducing a color that's heavier. So earth tones, anything that is quinacridone or synthetic like anthraquinoids, phthalo green, those are not heavy pigments. But when you get into the earth tones, like the siennas, whether it's raw or burnt, umbers, um, those tend to be heavier. Okay. Again, this might be lighter than I want, but I can always darken it up. Okay, let's get a nice point. Hey, Sheila. Welcome. All right. So I'm just going to put some of these I'm kind of following these leaf blobs that I did. And I'm looking at my reference. Just not enough water. I can feel it skipping around. Let's go for it again. All right. Here we go. Kind of a creamy, milky consistency. All right. I'm going to just go over what I did. Mhm. I don't like that, but it is what it is. You kind of have to think of how trees grow too. You gotta leave that one alone. Okay, let's do one more set of branches. Okay, so these are in my foreground, so I'm gonna start light. How's everybody doing so far? Any questions so far? Okay. One of the other reasons I like to use chromatic black and burnt sienna to make a brown is because there's already red and green in the mix here. I could pick up some more of that anthraquinoid red and introduce it and subtly change the brown into more of a reddish, less so how do I explain this? A little bit more chroma. And if you go back to the Tuesday series that I had where I explained chroma, how bright things are, this is going to have a little bit more chroma than, say, um, this mix here, which is just burnt sienna and black. Do you see how that's more of a dull red, dull reddish brown versus this one is more of a brighter and cooler reddish brown? I'm going to make a little bit more. So here we're going dull brown. I mean, it's not dull, but it's duller. And then I just give it a little something something by upping the red. Now, why would I bother doing that? Maybe tone down the red. There we go. Why would I do that? Because there's a lot of green, and that slight little shift is going to make the green in the foreground look a little bit brighter. I'm just going to give it a tiny more bit of that. Yeah, just to pump it up. See how it's kind of like a burgundy brown? Okay, I got one of my bigger brushes. Let's just start kind of in the middle. And I'm thinking these trees are backlit, so I still want to kind of give the indication they're in the round. And I'll show you how I'm going to do that in a minute. So one of the ways I can make that look a little rounder is by putting another layer right on the edge. And then taking it down here, because this is going to be darker. And then not worry about those lines, because I will fix those when I put a glaze. Okay, so I've just introduced water, because that's a way to make watercolor lighter. But this is a mop brush, so I need to take some of that water out and leave the pigment in. Okay. And then let's go ahead and mix up a little bit more of this. But I'm going to take some of that red out and dull it down by using my less chromatic red. And a little bit more water. Yep, there we go. So it still has that little bit of a cool reddish hue. Okay, let's take some of the water out of that. Oop, that might be a little too dark, but that's okay. It's all backlit. Taking a clean brush that just had a bit of water on it and just kind of teasing this up a bit. Oops. Just more of that leafy texture in there. And while it's still wet, I could do some bark texture. Okay, let's put this here. Same mix. I added just a teeny tiny bit more of the black. I'm thinking kind of shadows right now of the greenery in front of it and the edge. And using the tip. Create some bark texture. Okay, that's good enough. Now I'm gonna step back a little bit. The light's changed, but that doesn't matter. I've pretty much been ignoring what's happening out there anyways. Um, hey, Scott. But now I'm just kind of looking again at what's happening. And I'm not too concerned with the light. I'll just stick with my own lighting. But there are some things that I like. Like right up here, there's like a real dark edge um, that I want to keep. And I kind of like how this is a triangular shape, and I've already kind of put that in. So that's my foreground. Everything else that's going to happen can I'm going to concentrate on this foreground because now this is my foreground. Anything back here, if I have to go before I finish it, it's not critical. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start by putting in some of that dark, really, really dark brown. I don't want that dark brown. This still has the red, but here's because of the kind of palette, the colors that are curated on my palette, you could pretty much mix them all together and you're never gonna get mud. You can just tune them to a different temperature or hue or whatever. And I show you guys how to do this all the time, but for those of you who are new. So I'm taking that mix because I want that kind of dark, rusty brown, but it needs to be pretty dark. So I'm gonna stick with the chromatic black and burnt sienna. Of course, this is gonna have that anthraquinoid red in it because I mixed it in that mix to cool it down and kind of brighten it up. And that's fine because it's also in my chromatic black. So really, it just gets absorbed by the mix I'm about to make, which is going to be, again, just burnt sienna and chromatic black. So getting there. And I don't want to go too light, but I'll start light. So, well, I'll start lighter. So I've got kind of a nice creamy, milky mixture. I'm using my number 5 spotter, kind of squeezing paint off of it, but I'm not going to blot it. And then I am going to look at what's happening there. So I'm going to have to kind of lean on this. So what I'm seeing is just these. I'm going to take it right down to the edge, right in here. And I might actually be going too dark too soon. So let me water it down and maybe add a little bit more burnt sienna. Yeah, that's good. Needs a little more water though. Okay, yep, there we go. There we go. All right. So I'm just kind of going to cut into some of those leaves using the point of the brush. And I'm seeing like a lot of vertical. Now, I know for myself, I have a problem not getting into like a rhythm and then everything looks too regular. So if that happens to you too, just skip. Just remove yourself from the area and go to another area and move your hand maybe in a different direction. I'm kind of looking at what's going on there. See, I went back over that. That's bad because I overworked it. See, I'm getting too stuck in like the same old, same old. And now I can go back and, in fact, maybe add a little bit more burnt sienna. Let's make it kind of a shift in hue. So I've shifted the hue a little bit. Now I'm going to go back in. I'm kind of mush into it. Use the tip of my brush to kind of cut in. See, I got really regular right there. So I'm going to just kind of try to go in. Step back, see what I've done. Okay, I'm going to leave that for a minute and let it dry. I'm going to wake up some of this stuff. So these are my greens. Just gonna put a bunch of water in there. And let's see. Closer to this edge, I still want a lighter green. But I had made this quite yellow. Actually, yeah, I do wanna because if it merges together, that's fine with me too. Sorry, I'm getting sniffles. So I wanna make this kind of thicker because now we're going for the finishing. Pale washes are over, my friends. Okay. And I'm gonna switch brushes. I'm actually gonna switch to my number 3. It's a spotter as well, same shape. And because I don't wanna dilute that mix too much, maybe I'll dip into this and go in. Alright. So I'm trying to get kind of a thick puddle. Whoops. Yeah, this is useless to me. Go away. Alright. Yeah, there we go. So I'm actually picking up the wetter parts of my puddle and dipping it into my paint to try to thicken it up. That's a good consistency. See how it still moves, but it kind of sticks together too? Okay, I want to load my brush because I'm going to let the brush work for me. And actually, I'm going to stay away from that because I'm going to go to my smaller brush in a minute. Just kind of seeing how I like that effect. Yeah, it's not too bad. Is it my favorite? No. If you add a little bit more water and this lays flat, yeah, it creates kind of this little puddly things, this texture. I go for that instead. And I'm overlapping that brown. I want some of that yellow to show. So now I have to move my brush this way because I'm starting to create these uniform things. So actually, I'm just going to skip, just like I did with this. Let's that go together. Add a little bit more water because it's drying off real fast. I'll come back. I told you guys I'm not a landscape painter. I'm hoping a bird lands, but it's okay. But I like this. I'm out of my comfort zone and I'm all about it. It's kind of freaky doing it in front of you guys, though. Okay, I'm stepping back, just kind of seeing what's happening here. Okay, I'm okay with that. I'm not loving that, but that's all right. I'm going to go back to my number 5. And I already kind of set up my zones. I'm going to mix this up. I'm just taking what I already had here. I had some cool stuff. So actually, let me take a different brush. I'm going to take my really big brush. I'm going to make a really big pile of green because I'm going to need it for that big triangle here. I'm taking all my green. Remember how I told you my palette is such that I can just, no paint's wasted. I can take it all. And then I can tone it to what I want. Yeah, let's take this in there too. So I took some blue, there's a little bit of red, there's that bright green, there were darker greens. Okay, so here we go. Whoops. And I'm going to take some of the Green Apatite Genuine. I'm going to mix that in. And here's why I'm doing a really big puddle. And I'm making it quite juicy, but not watery. Because we're doing the last layers, so I don't want it watery. It'll dry lighter. Okay, so now I've got this nice middle green. And then I'm going to grab some of my cool green and put it on this side. Might even cool it off a little bit more with a little phthalo green. Okay, you see how that's a really cool green? This is, whoops, I had a lot of that on there, but that's okay. This is more of that warmer, not so cool green. Although now it's all cool green. All right, let's warm it up. Let's put a lot of this really light green in it on this side. And let's take a lot of that middle green on this side. So I have kind of a middle green, a cooler, I wouldn't say it's brighter, but it does look a little bit more chromatic to me, and a lighter but more yellowy green on this side. Yeah, let's pick up a little bit more because I'm going to need a lot. And just for funsies, I might go ahead and put a little quinacridone gold in this yellowy green to make it really yellowy green. Okay, let's squeeze out pink. All right, here we go. So I'm going to take my number 5. You guys still with me? I'm going to start with the middle green. I'm going to kind of mix it into the cooler green, pick up some of that. And see my triangle? I'm going to capture that shape, which I didn't have in the original, but you know, I knew things were going to happen. So I can bring it down into here. Let some of the under layers peek through. I'm going to give it a few twists. I'm still kind of, and I'm squinting my eyes so that I get that shape. I'm going over it again just to darken up some areas and not others. Okay, and then it kind of comes across here. Okay, now I'm going to take that lighter middle. I'm not adding water to it. Actually, I need the really, really light one. Let's put some quinacridone gold in there. Oh yeah. And maybe a little Hansa yellow medium because why not? And maybe some of that. Yeah, there we go. See how that's a nice yellow, yellowy green? All right. So again, squinting my eyes, I'm kind of looking at this whole big shape. So here we go. I'm merging it to the one underneath. I'm kind of paying attention. And now I'm going to dip into that middle and let them mix. I'm going to dip into that dark, even though it's not really there. I'm going to put it in anyways. And that's why I had 3. I'm going to dip into that middle again and dip into that light again. And then to add some more quinacridone gold to that, and a little bit more of this green. That green actually isn't strong enough. Let's do our middle green, see what happens. Get some of that. Yeah. And some of our Hansa yellow. There we go. See, do you see the light shifted again? So I'm going to put that in here and up in here. And I'm going to take some of that dark, put it up in the middle. And then some up in here. Because there's like that little dark piece, right? Wait, hold on. So you can see what I'm seeing. Kind of right in here. So here we go. That's a little dark piece. And actually, back in here, I've got little dark areas to those trees. I might as well put some of that in there too. I'm thinking of the undersides of these leaves. The ones shadowed by the branches. Okay, let's get some more. To mix some of the lighter green, the yellowy green with this darker, cooler. See what happens. Okay, actually, before I touch anything, let's step back before I go too crazy. Maybe let's wipe most of it off. And I'm just going to kind of dry brush a little. That's why you want good brushes. There. Okay, let's do that one. Now I'm going to take the smallest of my quill. All right, so I'm mixing up that middle again. Let's pull some of that in. And I actually, when I'm looking at this tree, I just really need this kind of middle and then a brighter, more yellowy version of it. Let's put some more Hansa in there and a little bit more of this one. And I'm going to go lighter to darker. And I've taken most of the pigment and water out of my brush because I am going to just kind of scumble in here amongst the branches. Or doesn't Sting say in the fields of gold among the gold of barley? Something like that. So I'm doing that too. I had some yellow, so I'm gonna leave that. Okay. I'm not even gonna rinse my brush, just gonna take a little bit more water. And here I'm going into the darker, less yellow, but it's not, I would not call this color cool. It is just less yellow. And I want to kind of stick to the undersides of things. I should have taken some of that pigment off, but I will. Let's see. This is still wet. Okay, I'm gonna leave that because when it dries, I can probably do something. All right, I'm gonna step back again and see what's happening. Does anybody have any questions? How's everybody doing? I'm kind of looking at it right now and seeing what do I want to do here. Hmm, I think I want to take a smaller brush with lots of water, like really water this down. Take a little bit of the water off. And let's see, up near the branches, right in here. You guys can use your fingers, when you paint. So I'm kind of trying to create an underside. Whoops, that was a little too much. And because that's the middle ground, I want that paint a lot more watery and a little cooler even. Let's pick up the cooler one. And then I need it really watery. There we go. Maybe I pick up some of this blue. Could take off some of that. Okay. Remember that blue we had? Oops, that's wet, so I have to be careful. Now I'm gonna cool or actually warm this blue up, dilute it. Go ahead and put some in here. I'm gonna leave it. All that brush smacking. It's like watching Bob Ross. I wish. I do have a big thing though, and I am like beating it. I don't normally do that though, but I need to get the water off. So, yeah, so I'm just gonna leave it like this. How long have I been out here? Oh, that's not bad. Um, yeah. I mean, I could work so much more on it. It probably needs leaves here because the sky is not coming that far down. So it's gonna bother me if I don't do something about that. So here, I'm gonna pick up, just mushing my colors around. Let's pick up some of this. And I'm just gonna mush, mush, mush up in here. Just kind of break up that line. Oh yeah, that looks much better. Yeah, that looked much better. Because it looked kind of weird to have the sky like down here, didn't it? Anyways, and maybe just for fun, because that's dry here. So I'm gonna glaze this whole thing right up in here. Whoops. Can break up some of that line. Yeah, I like that a lot better too. All right. Now you make me self-conscious. Scott, I'm self-conscious. I'm like, "Don't smack it now." Okay, hold on. So I'm just gonna clean some stuff up. Get this off of here. Alright, so there you go. My plein air study of the woods in my backyard with shifting light and everything. It probably the composition would have looked better had this whole piece been my middle ground and that my foreground extended into a bit of the lawn. Just kinda looks like a head without a body to me at least. But, yeah. Hope you guys had fun watching me struggle through this. No, I didn't struggle as much as just experiment. And that's what I recommend all the time. Just experiment, make a mess. It doesn't matter. Um, the plants won't stop growing just because I didn't make a pretty picture of them. But I did learn a lot. I learned that I really like smushing my brushes around. There will be more brush smushing in the future. Any of you who have watched me paint birds, you know that I'm very precise in the marks I make, but this is fun. I'm just all about smushing now. I want to go in and smush more. So, yeah. So maybe we'll have smushing Saturdays. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, yep. So first Wonderfield Wednesday of August, the first one of our final month of Cricklewood camp. I hope you guys are doing that as well. It's not too late to start camp if you haven't started already. You can start whenever you want. You can decide you're going to do your camp in fall. It's up to you. There's no real hard um, start date. I just choose July, August because it just seems like a fun time to do camp. So, if you don't know what camp is, just go to the Cricklewood Nature Journal homepage or in the app, type in Cricklewood Nature Journal, Cricklewood Camp, and you should see an orientation post that's titled, "Congratulations, you're an artist in residence." And it will explain everything that camp is. Um, and let's see. So I'll be back next Wednesday if the weather is good and I can get cell phone reception in the park. I will take us into the park, and we will just spend a couple hours there painting. Or, yeah, I mean, it's easier for me with this setup to not use ink at all. You go ahead and use ink. But, yeah, it could be fun to just go out and smush the brushes again on, watercolor paper with watercolor paint. So, yeah, so keep your fingers crossed. This weekend, I have my Shorebirds trip, which is for camp, and then I will also kind of do recognizance in the park and see where I have cell phone reception. And then we could gather together and do that. And hopefully, I will now be cognizant that my phone will overheat if it's very sunny and I don't have it in the shade. Man, that was scary. It's the only phone I've got. All right. I'm trying to think if there was any other announcements. No, I'll just put stuff in. I'll I'll have a replay post for you probably tomorrow morning or sometime tomorrow, but I aim for tomorrow morning. And then oh, I know what I wanted to tell you. I don't know if you saw this on notes, but I put a note this morning out about the Jingle and Mingle Jamboree. This is something we did last year during December, and I want to do it again. And it kind of combines what we do here, illustrating nature, with a book arts form. So I have a number of ideas, but I will put the note in the replay post and a poll because I really would like to know those of you who participated, as well as those of you who haven't but might be interested in participating this time. But one of the major things is expanding it from 3 weeks, where we live stream once a week for 3 weeks, so you have time in between to do the steps, to 5 weeks, because there are 5 weeks in December. There are replays. It's totally free. This one's not behind a paywall, but it's just something festive for us to do, like a all-month party, as we welcome in winter. So, all right. Let me know and have a good rest of your week. Ah, you like my idea for December? Were you there last year, Leslie? Were you already a Cricklewood member? I thought you were. Yeah, because I think you did one. Um, so yeah, but we'll talk. So post what you're doing in notes and tag me because I'd love to see it. If you're participating in Cricklewood Camp, we also have a chat over there. And I will see you all next Wednesday. Yes. Oh, yes, that's right. You did 2 of them. Oh, yes. Okay. You're a pro at this. Um, so yeah, so we will keep going and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Okay. Thank you for coming. Bye.